Good morning. I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
A new witness has emerged in the case of the missing Sabongeros, a local official from Laguna who admitted to working as a master agent in cockfight operations in Calamba.
Senior citizens and persons with disability may now avail of 50% discount on train fares.
Authorities raided an online lending firm over allegations of harassment and threats against borrowers. More
lawmakers are backing calls for a total ban on online gambling in the country.
First in the news, Malacanang denies speculation of the First Lady's involvement in the death of Rustan's Commercial Corporation executive Juan Paulo Tantoco. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro branded as fake the supposed police report that mentioned First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos as one of Tantoco's companions at the time of his death. The Los Angeles medical examiner said the businessman died from effects of cocaine use. Castro denied that Tantoco was part of the First Lady's official entourage during her visit to LA in March of this year.
Nakakalungkot dahil yung mga pribadong tao na nagluluksa ay nadadamay sa pamumulitika. Ginagamit ng ibang mga obstructionists para masira ang First Lady, ang Pangulo at ang administrasyon na ito. Nakakahiya ang kanilang mga ginagawa. Sa mga journalist na nagpapanggap na kayo journalist, pero lumalabas na kayo propagandista, maawa po kayo sa bansa. Maawa po kayo sa taong bayan. Huwag niyo pong lokohin ang mga Pilipino.
Processes bets and manages payouts. Manguiat says he's actually a good friend of businessman Atong Ang and Manila Arena's head of security, Julie Dondon Patidongan, who we now know as alias Totoy, the whistleblower in the case of the missing Sabongeros. But everything changed when a cockfight enthusiast attempted to escape AA Cobra Farm in Santa Cruz, Laguna back in June 2021. The said personality supposedly asked Manguiat's help to help mend ties with Ang and to clear his name. That's the beginning of the end of Manguiat's relationship with the gambling industry tycoon.
So sabi ko doon sa friend ko na malapit din kay Mr. Atong Ang na tulungan namin. Kaya naging suggestion naman niya, pag nilapit natin yan, baka maging suspect pa tayo. Tayo pa pagsuspecha na nagpipinance tayo dyan.
Just weeks after he hid the Sabongero, Manguiat claims to have been subjected to an ambush while aboard an SUV. He sustained 80 gunshot wounds all over his body, but miraculously survived.
Solo lang ako doon sa sakyan ko kung magmamaneho. So may humarang sa akin na dalawang Fortuner, tsaka may dalawang motor silang kasama. Yun, sabay-sabay silang namumutok. So sa pagkakatanda ko, 6 yung namumutok sa akin na puro mga naka-Bushmaster. Kaya estimate ko, nasa kulang-kulang 200 na bala yung ginamit nila sa akin.
Back then, Manguiat believed that it was Patidongan who initiated the ambush against him, along with Calamba policemen whom he alleges were in cahoots with alias Totoy. 4 years after, Patidongan went public with his testimony. According to the self-proclaimed whistleblower, Manguiat was also on the hit list.
Pinapaambos yan ni Mr. Atong Ang sa halagang 2 milyon. Dahil ang akala ni Mr. Atong Ang ay ito si Arvin Manguiat, siya ang pinanser ng Manchuchupi. Ngayon, minisyonan na pinapaambos. Kinabukasan, parang gusto na manghingi yung mga dumali kay Manguiat. Sabi ko kay Mr. Atong Ang, bakit ko bigyan ng 2 milyon yan? Hindi naman namatay si Arvin Manguiat.
Kasi nung maambos naman ako, hindi ko sinaspect si Mr. Atong Ang. At wala sa hinagap ko na magagawa niya yun sa akin. Unang-una, wala naman akong naging utang nung master agent ako.
Despite the attempt to his life, Manguiat did not file charges, at least not yet. He first requested a ballistics test and cross-matching of bullets used on him during the ambush. And on the firearms of policemen, Patidongan is tagging in the incident. On Monday, Patidongan filed administrative complaints against 12 PNP officials. Those in active service collectively denied any involvement, saying they are surprised that they are being baselessly dragged into the issue. But as soon as they received a copy of the formal complaint, they promised to respond at the proper forum and at the appropriate time. Retired General Jonel Estomo, whom Patidongan said threatened him when he went public with his testimony on the missing Sabongeros, also categorically denied his involvement, saying he will present evidence to clear his name. Estomo added, his lawyers are already preparing appropriate charges to counter what he calls are malicious and baseless accusations against him. According to the National Police Commission, it has already sent summons to the 12 cops tagged by Patidongan in his complaint affidavit. These police officers have 5 days to respond from receipt of the summons.
Upon initial evaluation, the EMIS found out that the case must proceed. So they issued summons. To clarify as well, alias Totoy actually sued 18 names, 18 policemen in his in his complaint affidavit. However, based on our evaluation, 6 of them have been already dismissed from the service. 12 na lang po ang nasa active service. So yung 12 po na yon, yung po ngayon na pinapasagot ng EMIS ho natin sa Napolco.
Mobile journalist Mary Monreyes, we are One News.
Some samples recovered from Taal Lake have now been confirmed to be of human origin, raising hopes for a breakthrough in the search for the missing cockfighting enthusiasts. Here's the report.
6 out of over 90 bone samples recovered from Taal Lake were found to be of human origin. This was discovered by the PNP Forensic Group based on the morphology, or the physical appearance and structure, of the bones. However, the samples still need to undergo further analysis to determine if DNA can be extracted, a process that may take up to a week.
Hindi po kami nagbibigay po ng false hope sa kanila na saying na madali to, mabilis to.
May katagalan po nababad, so may changes na sa bones, kaya nagkahalo-halo pa nga po eh.
Once DNA extraction is completed, the bones will then undergo paternity testing or cross-matching with DNA from relatives of the missing cockfighting enthusiasts. This process will also take about a week.
So far po, yung dun sa mga kamag-anak na pinasa sa amin, we already have 18 po na samples ng mga kamag-anak po for possible matching po. I wouldn't discount the possibility na makakuha. I wouldn't also discount the possibility na hindi kami makakuha.
The remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, was deployed on Tuesday, the 5th day of search operations for the missing cockfighters at Taal Lake. So far, the ROV has only been used at the surface level of the water.
Let's get the latest from PCG spokesperson Captain Noemi Cayabyab. Captain, thank you for joining us again.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Angela and Angela at sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Alright, Captain, the last time we spoke, kasalukuyan, at that time, pasimula pa lang yung dive nyo. But now, could you give us an update on yung supposedly yung new evidence na nakita po ng ROV nyo?
Yes, Angela, we are now in our day 6 of a diving operation. So kahapon na ginawa ng ating ROV is just to test its capability. So nakita nga natin doon na marami talagang debris sa ilalim ng Taal Lake. So ang ginagawa naman ng Philippine Coast Guard pagdating sa diving operations nito, well again, we have to consider the depth of the lake. Once na merong makita ang ating ROV, that's the time na pinapababa natin yung ating mga divers.
All right, can you also give us a picture of how was the operations now that we are on day 6?
Well, similar pa rin ang process na ginagawa natin. Ang pinaka-update is and-expand natin yung ating search area from the initial 100 meter by 100 meter. Ngayon ay meron na po tayong 300 meter by 186 meter. And since malaki po ang coverage ng search area na ito, ay ginawa po natin by quadrant. So we are about to complete the search area for the first quadrant. But as to the process, once we get suspicious object and once we retrieve it in the water surface, we follow the same procedures and protocols. We automatically and immediately turn it over to the SOCO.
Captain, initially kasi no, yung search was based on a testimony ni yung Julie Patidongan, si Alice Totoy, na nakasako. But are you also looking for possible other evidence na hindi po nakasako?
Well, nabanggit natin na malabo and maburak yung ilalim. So initially talaga, Angelo, pagdating po sa ilalim ay hindi nakikita ng ating divers based sa mga feedbacks po natin. And that's the reason why we are utilizing now our ROV. So any suspicious object sa ilalim po ng taalig ay kinukuha po natin kasi we don't know kung ano yung nasa loob ng mga sako na yon. And it's only the SOCO that verified and confirmed what's inside in that sack.
Yeah. All right. So prior to the search and retrieval operations, I remember there were reports also that the DOJ has said that they will ask assistance from Japan, no, pagdating sa mga technical assistance that they will need, no, in the operations. Are we also still pushing for that?
Yes, we are very open kung ano man yung additional resources and tulong na maibibigay ng ibang ahensya, government man yan or private. Well, the Philippine Coast Guard is one part of that operations po. Kami po ay andito para tumulong sa diving operations. And kung ano man po ang additional resources na maibibigay sa atin dito sa ground at meron naman pong legal clearance, because again, this is a criminal investigation. So there should be illegal clearance from the Department of Justice. So once we get illegal clearance, well, kahit ano pong tulang ay tatanggapin po ng Philippine Coast Guard.
Captain, kamusta na po ang coordination nyo with SOCO and yung mga ibang agencies with regards to ano yung pagkuha po ng evidence? Naka-establish na po ba kayo ng mga protocols?
Yes, if I could just mention, and I think this is also a good opportunity for our viewers to know what's the protocol. Kasi meron mga speculations and allegations na natanggap at nakikita po natin. So just to mention how we do the retrieval and the turnover of those gathered suspicious objects to the SOCO. So the past few days, may mga retrieves po tayo na mga sacks. So ang ginagawa po natin, since the first limitation then is yung lapo and yung visibility underwater, bumababa po or sumisisid ang ating technical divers and usually kapa po. So kinakapa nila yung mga objects na yon sa ilalim po ng taalig. And if they found out a suspicious object, tinatalian po nila yan and pag-angat po ay nilalagay lang ng mga floating markers so para hindi po sila mawala pagbalik nila kung babalikan yung object na yon. And then we inform the SOCO and then the lead agency. And then once we get an approval or a go signal to retrieve that object, that's the time na ibinababa po natin ulit yung ating mga technical divers. But then again, considering yung sack, kasi we don't know kung ito ba ay yung capacity to hold the object. So considering na lahat na nakikita natin mga sack ay may mga butas at sira na, so imagine Angelo and Angela na iaakyat natin 50 to 70 meters in depth. Because 50 feet in depth. Kasi yan yung usually na lalim na feedback sa atin na nire-report ng mga technical divers. So imagine natin yung sack na butas at sira at iaakyat natin. So we cannot preserve the integrity of that object. And the first guidance to us, the important guidance, is to always ensure the integrity of that object. So we put it in a sack. Now, yung fine mesh net na nakikita ng ating mga manonood sa mga videos na nakikita sa mga TV, so we wanted to preserve, so that's why we put it in a fine mesh net. And once na naiakyat po yan sa water surface, meron na pong SOCO na nakaantabay. Because nilalagay po natin yung location kung saan natin nakuha. Because the coordinates would form part of the investigation. And when once we retrieve and nasa water surface, automatic and turnover po natin ibinibigay sa SOCO na nasa search area po. So that's what we do, and automatic ang SOCO po, they bring the object that we retrieve to the staging area for further verification. So every day, once we find out a object, that's the protocol and the process that the Philippine Coast Guard did.
Okay, just to clarify din po, spokes, Captain, ito pong area where we are doing the operation right now is the area supposedly sinabi ni alias Totoy, yung sa may fish pond na merong may pagmamayari. Yun pa lang po yung area na yun. Tama po ba?
We expanded na po, Angela, no? So hindi lang po ito sa testimony, but may kasama na po intelligence information.
Right.
Again, yung vastness po ng Taal Lake, imagine po na po ay sisiro natin. It would take years for the Philippine Coast Guard kahit magdagdag pa po tayo ng additional resources. So the information, the location that we have right now as our search area is taken from the intelligence information that we received from the lead agency.
Yun nga po that's why my next question would be, hanggang kailan po natin masasabi na okay, we're done now, we have already exhausted lahat ng mga dapat namin makita dito, and I think this is it already.
Yes, as to the duration of the operation, well, I think I am not in the proper, the Philippine Coast Guard is not in the proper authority. Again, we are just a part of these operations, just to do the diving operations. So as of now, ang guidance naman sa atin, hanggang sa meron tayong nakikita ng mga suspicious objects, and hanggang wala po tayong natatanggap na instruction from the lead agency, the Philippine Coast Guard will continuously do its diving operation every day po.
Captain, I'd like to get a better understanding or a picture of ano yung challenges yung na hinaharap ng Coast Guard divers nyo sa lake, kasi I've seen retrieval operations sa ocean, no, sa dagat, and I understand kasi doon if may marker kayo na may kung saan supposedly yung hinahanap nyo, you have to account for yung wind also tsaka yung waves. So that's why may area kayo. Sa lake po ba ganun din, or hindi masyado dahil medyo stagnant ang tubig dyan?
Yes, Angela, halos pareho. So mapapansin natin ang pag tinatanong tayo anong challenges. Una, naka-alert level status yung ating Taal Volcano.
That's
so may mga possible sulfur dioxide emission dyan na hindi lang natin nakikita. And then pangalawa is yung labo and yung maburak na area. And usually pag hapon, umuulan. And pag medyo malakas ang hangin at umuulan, nakaka-apekto yan sa current ng ating diving area, search area. And this past few days, nakaka-receive na rin tayo ng concern sa ating mga technical divers bukod doon sa mga weather disturbances na present every day is yung skin irritation. So probably this is because of the yung presence ng alert level status. May mga emission, may mga maliliit pa rin particles na lumalabas sa hangin. So probably this also contributes to doon sa mga concerns, medical concern and health concerns ng ating mga technical divers.
Well, along my part, last na, ewan ko. Captain, how are you guys preparing? Kasi hindi man Pag-asa daw may namamataan na supposedly may bagyo na namumuo. Ano po mangyayari in case this happens?
Every diving operation, bago po natin sila i-deploy, ay may nakakakuha po tayo ng mga information. Hindi lang po to consider the weather, pero again, itong field box po, yan po yung mga considerations natin. And again, the condition of the lake, yung current ng lake, ay malaking factor po yan to temporarily suspend our operation. I think this happened, I think day 1 or day 2, na medyo malakas yung current ng Taal Lake. We temporarily suspend. So again, the topmost priority of the Philippine Coast Guard is to always ensure the safety of our technical divers. Kasi we don't know kung kailan ito matatapos, and we have to sustain our presence for this diving operation.
Captain, before we let you go, we want to also make sure na even if suspended po yung operations dun sa area, secured naman po yun, just to, let us know na yung area na yun ay wala pong possible tampering ng other entities.
Yes, meron po tayong security personnel na naka-in-charge po dyan because we really wanted to ensure the integrity of the search area. And nabanggit ko nga po kayo na, well, the current is one of the factor, but this past few days, we are now in our day 6. Kahapon, medyo umuulan at medyo malakas din ng konti yung current, but the Philippine Coast Guard divers continue its diving operation. So we did 3 diving operation yesterday and with the assistance of the ROV. So we give our best effort sa diving operations na ito because our main purpose is not just to help the lead agency but to give justice, yung katotohanan at justisya para sa mga pamilya.
Well, we are one with you in seeking clarity on this issue. Maraming salamat po sa inyong RSPCG spokesperson, Captain Noemi Cayabyab. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning.
Well, maganda, we
Day
have
6 na pala,
day
no?
6 and maganda that we understand also yung dinadaanan ng divers kasi usually pag sa dagat naman wala silang issues of skin irritation.
Ito medyo warm yung water tapos may mga skin irritation.
Problema
Pakita
daw-
mo naman, sobrang dumi na.
Oo nga, ang problema daw sa Taalik, warm tapos may times na nag-extreme colds. I remember when he spoke to Captain noon, minsan nagta-32 degrees ang diving temperature, sometimes nagsi-17. So depende sa sumpong daw ng volcano. Kahit walang actual activity ang volcano, mainit yung ilalim ng bulkan eh. So pag mainit yan, yung ground temperature ng bed ng Taalik, umiinit.
That's why it's not advisable for swimming. It's just that we just need to do something dun, hanapin yung mga allegedly possible remains doon.
Yes.
Anyway, in other news, President Bongbong Marcos led the launch of a 50% fare discount for senior citizens and persons with disabilities on MRT3, LRT1, and LRT2. For more details, we have mobile journalist Julie Baiza.
Sa mga kababayan natin, sa mga senior citizen at PWD, makakatanggap na sila ng 50% discount sa MRT3, LRT1 at LRT2 simula yan ngayong araw. Mismo si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos yung nanguna sa launching o paglulunsad ng 50% discount. Ayon kay PBBM, 13 million senior citizens at 7 million na PWD yung makikinabang dito. Naniniwala yung Pangulo na malaki yung maitutulong niyan sa kanila kasi sila raw yung pinaka nangangailangan ng tulong ng gobyerno dahil sa maliit na income. Nauna na nga binigyan ng 50% discount yung mga estudyante. Angela, Diego, sa mga senior citizens at PWD na gustong mag-avail ng discount, magpakita lang sila ng kanilang ID kapag bibili ng ticket. Pwede rin kumuha ng tinatawag na concessionary tickets na automatic nang naka 50% discount. Magbabayad lang sila ng 30 pesos na fee kasi ilalagay doon yung kanilang pangalan. Bukod dyan sa launching ng discount, sumakay din si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos doon sa Dalian Train. Yung Dalian Train na yan, 2014 pa natin nabili pero ngayong araw lang napakinabangan. 48 na bagon yung binili ng Pilipinas at 3 bagon yung napaandar na after nga ng ginawang pagre-repair ng DOTR. Diego, Angela.
Do you have any data kung everyday ilan ba yung mga sumasakay dyan na PWD at senior citizens so that we know kung magkano or ilan yung talaga matutulungan with this discount?
Sabi ng DOTR, maglalabas pa sila ng datos kung ilan or kabuuan ng matutulungan ito na hindi lang senior citizen at PWD, pati na rin yung mga estudyante. Yung ngayon kasi rough estimate lang yung meron sila na 13 million senior citizens, 7 million PWD at 14 million din na estudyante na sumasakay para sa mga metro trains. Pero plano din daw ng DOTR na i-expand sana yan sa ibang lugar. Pero medyo fluid pa sa ngayon yung kanilang plano. Wala pang nailalatag na konkretong plano yung ahensya.
Julie, maibalik natin sa yung launching. Sino mga personalities na nakita doon?
Bukod kay PBBM, of course, nandyan yung mga DOTR officials, si DOTR Secretary Vince Dizon na nauna na nga nag-explain kung paano yung magiging proseso nito. Kasi naitanong nga namin na every time ba yung senior citizen kailangan nga magpakita ng ID kasi pwede naman na magkaroon ng beep card. So nasabi nga yung concessionary card para sa kanila. Nandoon din yung other DOTR officials, undersecretary na nag-explain naman tungkol naman doon sa Dalian Train. Pero may mga senior citizen group din kanina na nakaabang sa Pangulo.
Kaya nga, Julie, kasi minsan obvious ng senior citizen or obvious na naka-wheelchair, minsan naiiwan nila ID. So ano mangyayari, Julie? Papayagan ba silang magkaroon ng discount? Kung let's say, naiwan yung ID pero kitang-kita na yung age nila or if ever, naka-wheelchair or naka-whatever, di ba?
Sa ngayon kasi, Diego, talagang requirement yung pagpipresenta ng ID. Pero kung gusto nga ng mga senior citizens at PWD natin na medyo maiwasan yung hassle, maganda na nga yung beep card, yung concessionary card, yung kunin nila kasi lifetime naman na yun at meron na rin pangalan nila. So lalagyan ng load tuwing pupunta sila at naka-automatic 50% discount na raw yun.
Okay.
Julie, it's good that you mentioned yung Dalian trains because I remember nga nung 2014 naging issue yan na hanggang ngayon hindi pa nga magamit-gamit. But you mentioned 3 na from the 48 trains or bagon or coaches yung nagamit. Are we also seeing more coaches na magagamit in the future?
Angela, 48 yung bagon na binili natin mula China. No? 3 na nga yung umaandar after ng ginawang repair. And meron pang 45 na kasalukuyang tinetest. Yung 6 dyan, nire-repair na daw, yung iba tinetest pa kung ano pa yung mga kakulangan o pangangailangan. Kasi compatibility yung naging issue. Although hindi naman nga nilinaw ng DOTR ano mismo yung naging problema. Ang sabi lang nila, medyo problems with compatibility. Pero kanina si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, pinasok niya mismo yung Dalian train kasi siya nga rin nagulat na from 2014. Ngayon lang, unang beses napaandar yung train na yan.
Okay, so saktong-sakto kasi this week ang celebration ng national, tawag din yung sa Disability Affairs, 'di ba? That's why it's very timely yung kanilang launch dyan. Anyway, from what station to what station sumakay si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos with the First Lady para subukan muli ang MRT kanina?
Actually, Angela, pinasok lang niya yung nakahinto pa yung tren, yung Dalian train doon sa Santolan Police Station. Hindi rin kasama si First Lady. I think ito ay filed video yung nakikita ninyo. From yung other program, yung 1+3 promo naman yan, nung mga nagdaang linggo.
Alright.
Thank you for that, mobile journalist Julie Baisa.
So, sakto nga, National Disability Rights Week.
Yes. Saka yung naging issue dyan sa Dalian is yung compatibility niya with the tracks. Kaya hindi tinuloy yun kasi at that time, in order to use the Dalian trains na supposedly mas efficient sana, ang problema, you have to retrofit the entire LRT system with the right tracks. So, mapapadoble ang gasto. So, parang ang nangyari, parang ground nila.
Natambak siya for a while.
Ground nila yung Dalian trains. Pero what they were doing was little by little, parang iniiba nila yung tracks.
Kasi if you're going to do this nga, yung magdadagdag ka ng discounts para sa iba pang pwedeng sumakay, talagang dadagsa yung maaring sumakay sa LRT, MRT. Kukulangin ka ng bagon. So, mabuti talaga dagdagan pa yun.
At saka yung Dalian trains kasi medyo at that time, modern. But
ewan ko lang ngayon, that was 2014.
Well, nagulat daw si PBBM.
Yeah,
so,
under the Pinoy administration.
Pinoy administration.
Alright, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Over 160 employees of a lending firm were apprehended over allegations of harassment and threats against borrowers. Here's the report.
Employees of a Pasig-based office were seen covering their faces as agents from the National Bureau of Investigation and the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission raided the premises. The authorities targeted 3 rooms operated by the Creditable Lending Corporation linked to the online lending app Easy Peso. The operation was based on allegations of harassing and threatening clients who failed to repay loans. Confiscated from the site were laptops, cell phones, and registered SIM cards allegedly used to contact and intimidate borrowers. A total of 168 employees were taken into custody. According to PAOK, over 15,000 harassment complaints have been filed against Easy Peso.
In every month, nasa 156,000 ang mga nabibiktima ng OLA. Ang labanan kasi dito, pag nangutang ka sa mga ganitong online lending, isinusurrender mo yung iyong contacts, sinusurrender mo yung mga pictures mo, kasama na rin yung pictures mo dun sa Facebook account mo or other account mo. So, na-access nila yon. Ngayon, pag hindi ka nagbabayad, minsan padadala nila yung picture ng anak mo, ganda pala ng anak mo, o ito pala yung bahay mo, siguro sarap sunugin yan. May mga ganun pananakot.
Bukod sa napakataas na ng interest ay kung makapaningil pa ay kumurahin, kung takutin ang ating mga kababayan. So nakita namin ni Sir na merong talagang namumuno na foreigner.
Authorities said the app is registered in different locations which could constitute misrepresentation.
Nung interview namin iba, sabi accounting agent nandoon. Yung sinabi naman ng isa, nasa Santa Mesa. Pero sa record namin, ang address niya is sa Taguig.
Investigators also found employees using scripts that outlined harassment rules. However, staff members interviewed by News 5 denied any wrongdoing.
Pero zero tolerance po kami, hindi po kami nangaharas ng tao. Hindi kayo nananakot?
Hindi po. Hindi po. Ang paniningil po namin dito maayos po. Hindi po kami nananakot or hindi rin po namin ginagamit yung mga social media po nila. And then ipopost sa kung saan-saan. Wala pong ganun nangyayari.
The authorities are now preparing possible charges for violations of the Anti-Cybercrime Law, Data Privacy Act, as well as the SIM Registration Act against both the employees and the company's management. For News 5, Ian Suyu, we are One News.
I remember
Grabe
yung...
yan eh.
Oo, grabe yan. I remember kausap natin sa paang PAOK noon at ang sinasabi nila, sometimes one registration, multiple businesses under it. So minsan isa lang ang may-ari ng 3 or 4 na lending apps na nagpapahiram, nagkakaiba lang sa app. Pero makikita mo kung iisa lang yan, kung pareho interest rates, pareho ang approval ng amount. So ang style niyan is after you borrow daw, kunyari you borrow 3,000, 5 to 7 days later, ang mangyayari, another app will send you a link and say, oh, approve ka namin sa 5,000. So, ang ginagawa ng tao, parang umiikot yung pera. Yung inutang, yung pangalawang utangan, yun yung babayad doon.
Pangbabayad lang.
Oo, hanggang nagiging
Kaya nga diba,
na...
yung meron tayong report din dito, yung parang 30,000 niya, if I'm not mistaken, parang umabot ng 1 million kababayad
kasi
niya ng interest. Tapos, yun
daily ang nangyaring interest, hindi niya binasa yung fine print. Bawal kasi po yun.
Yun nga yung nagiging problema rin dito, yung nahaharas sila. So ngayon, we are also trying to check and confirm niya. Pati din ba yung mga, kasi we are also talking about illegal at saka versus legal online lending apps. So parang there are also reports that even the legitimate lending apps are doing this, nang haharas ng mga borrowers.
Actually, linaw naman. Ito mukhang legal tong e-peso na to eh. Ang ginagawa ang mali, illegal yung way of making singil. Oo, kasi...
Can you imagine, ginagamit yung pictures mo,
picture ng anak
hinahunt
mo.
ka sa Facebook, sa social media mo. Tapos, there are also reports before na, di ba, may mga threats.
Yeah.
Di ba, padadalan kita ng kabaong. Yung bastos sa bastos talaga sa kabilang linya.
Saka ang style nila is, kunyari, nag-apply ka ng, sabi mo, parang isang case na nakausap natin, 30,000. Di ba? Anong nangyayari? Hindi 30,000 matatanggap mo.
Parang binabawasan na nila ng kung magkano yung interest rate
so usually
nila.
18 na lang, plus, kunyari, hindi mo nakuha buo, bayad na yung interest nila. Babayaran mo pa rin pala yung interest. So, doble-doble ang kita nila. Talagang mag-ingat po kayo.
We are trying to get a hold of the Executive Director of PAOK, si Yusek Gilbert Cruz, to give us some details about this. But in other news, we have breaking news actually. The low pressure area or LPA being monitored inside the Philippine Area of Responsibility has developed into tropical depression Crising. As of 8 a.m. today, the center of Tropical Depression Crising was located 780 kilometers east of Virac, Catanduanes, moving westward. According to Pag-asa, Crising will bring rains to Bicol region, eastern Visayas, Dinagat Islands, and Surigao del Norte. Meanwhile, southwest monsoon or habagat will bring scattered rains in Metro Manila and the rest of the country. And speaking of rainy season, authorities conducted a floodgate opening and installed trash traps along Rojas Boulevard earlier today. For the latest updates on this developing story, we're going live to our mobile journalist Denise Valdez Sancho, joining us via Zoom. Hi Denise, tell us what's happening there.
Good morning, Angela, Diego. Now that we are at the topic of the rainy season, binuksan na nga yung isa sa mga floodgates dito sa may labas nitong Manila Yacht Club sa may Rojas Boulevard. Kanina lang, nandyan, present dyan si Manila Mayor Isko Moreno kasama ang ilang MMDA officials, especially si MMDA Chairman Artes. So, binuksan na nila yung isa sa mga floodgates dito at dito sa likuran ko, yung sumasalong mga trash traps kung saan any na mga basura na makukuha sasaluhin o kokolektahin ng mano-mano raw. For now, this is the temporary solution na nakikita nilang maaaring gawin in anticipation of the rainy season, especially the flooding. Dahil nga in the following days, even right now, nakakaramdam na ng pagbugso ng pag-ulan, and of course, in return, yung pagbaha. And for the long-term plans naman daw, syempre meron na silang ginagawa for that. And gusto nila ideally na dagdagan yung mga STPs or the sewage treatment plants kung maaari. But right now, nakikipagtulungan sila the LGU alongside the other government units, MMDA, the PWH, and DENR for the budget of that. Pero rest assured for the Manileños daw, according to Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, they're doing what they can, the best. Katulad na nga dyan, no, yung pangongolekta ng basura, they're trying to normalize that all around Manila. And even yung sa mga imbornal, no, kinokolekta raw nila yan to make space for water collection, of course, for the drainage system. Angela, Jego.
Denise, I don't know kung binanggit to ni MMDA chairman, isa pa daw problema aside from yung trash, yung sinasabi ni Angel, yung Dolomite Project, yung sand na yun daw, nagbabara din.
Isa rin sa
yung sifting stations natin, tsaka yung mga pump natin, nagbabara, hindi siya makapump out ng flood dahil daw sa Dolomite.
Yes, they also raised that issue kanina. No? They didn't give much details, pero ang binigay lang nila is that they're doing the best that they can daw para rin maasikaso yung problema nga with the Dolomite Beach. Pero kasi ngayon, ang binibigyang atensyon talaga nila Manila Mayor Isko Moreno itong temporary solution sa pagbaha, which is itong ang mga floodgates and the trash traps na sinet up nila for this one. And aside from that, no, kung they're also looking into other possible solutions, which is yung isa pang remedios na floodgate na maaari rin daw buksan. Pero yung sa Dolomite sa ngayon, they're also giving attention to it. Pero ito muna daw for now.
But what about the pumping station? Sinasabi din ng kasama yan sa report ng MMDA na isa sa nakikita nilang solusyon also aside from collecting the trash effectively, ayusin yung mga floodgate areas, yun din pumping stations daw.
Even the pumping stations, no, for now they're looking to add more, and yun nga makipagtulungan with the national government, of course, the other stations we have, the ENR and the PWH. Right now daw, meron naman daw plan for that. Pero kasi ang problema raw ngayon sa budget. So, kung meron naman daw budget, kung mabibigyan naman daw, syempre, i-roll yun na agad yung operasyon for that.
Denise, nakapaglakad-lakad ka na ba sa buong Manila in this past few days? Can you share with us yung mga nakikita din natin sa report, if it's really true, and yung mga sinishare ng mga netizen natin na talagang nabawasan na yung basura dyan?
Under Yorme.
Under Yorme. At saka yung ilang mga spaghetti wires sa iba't ibang streets ng Manila, nabawasan na rin daw?
Angela, Jego, kanina nga, no, binigyan tayo ng datos ni Chairman Artes. Actually, 45,000 cubic meters daw nako-collect every day all around Metro Manila. Pero in Manila, specifically, no, they are maraming operasyon. At dati, no, alongside, at least na nasisilip ko, Santa Cruz, Manila, mga bandang hapon, makikita mo sa bawat kanto, sa bawat corner, may mga nakalagay na basura, pero so far naman malinis, no? Other areas hindi ko pa nasisilip, pero yung sa spaghetti wire hindi ko pa nasisilip din sa ibang areas. Pero yung sa Binondo kasi, yun yung I think binibigyan nila ng atensyon ngayon, since dun nga sa Binondo area nagkaroon ng problema sa mga poste dahil nga sa sobrang bigat na ng mga wiring. Pero other operations, aside from clearing operations and yung sa mga basura, nag-iikot na sila ngayon sa Manila. Matter of fact, ngayon lang, no, nagbigay sila ng advisory na nagdadagdag na rin daw sila ng mga ilaw, even around the U-Belt area, UST. So, sunod-sunod, no, napaka-simultaneous ng mga operasyon na nangyayari dito sa Maynila ngayon.
Alright, maraming salamat, Denise Valdez-Sancho.
Alright, Manila 6th District Representative Benny Abante is pushing for a total ban on online gambling. Meanwhile, Ako Bicol Representative Alfredo Garbin pushes for constitutional amendments on national territory and economic provisions. Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos has the report.
Online gambling is not just a vice to me, no? It's a virus actually. It's an addiction that eats away at the moral fiber of our society. It erodes the values we teach our children. It devastates the finances of Filipino families, and it promotes the growth of a shadow economy that thrives on addiction, deceit, and even death.
This is Manila City 6th District Representative Benny Abantes' statement sounding the alarm as to how online gambling continuously plague Filipinos and their families. An addiction not only accessible digitally but has gone viral and global. Abante adds that despite the industry's multi-billion pesos annual revenue being used in various social programs of the government such as healthcare and infrastructure, no amount of money can pay this virus's human cost. These statements followed after he filed House Bill number 1876, seeking to put an end to online and off-site gambling including e-sabong, and House Bill 1877 prohibiting advertisement and promotion of online gambling-related content with penalties ranging from 3 to 8 years imprisonment and a fine. As the former chairperson of the Committee on Human Rights and one of the lead panels of the Quad Committee in the 19th Congress, he also filed a resolution calling for a full congressional investigation into the fate of the missing sabongeros, which he called a modern-day horror story.
This is a modern-day horror story. You can no longer call this a harmless vice when it ends with bodies dumped in our lakes and families mourning the loss of their loved ones. Ang nakataya dito ang kaluluwa ng ating mga kababayan.
In a different story, Ako Bicol Party List Representative Alfredo Garbin Jr. filed a resolution seeking to amend Article 1 of the 1987 Constitution regarding the national territory and the restrictive economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution, including Articles 12, 14, and 16.
The national territory definition is silent on the exclusive economic zone and the continental shelf na ipinanalo na natin sa arbitral tribunal, at ito ay dapat kumbaga isaad natin. We should enshrine it in our constitution.
As per the easing of restrictive economic provisions,
these restrictive economic provisions only resulted into monopoly or oligopoly and does not favor competition sa ating mga public utilities. This does not take into consideration our current economic, financial, and business climate. When this was crafted and incorporated 38 years ago in the 1987 Constitution.
With various inequalities and problems the Philippines face, it is not surprising how many Filipinos are willing to gamble for their life. The problem, however, is it's not only one's hard-earned money that is at stake, but a life worth living beyond betting. A mobile journal, Arles de los Santos. We are One News.
Senator Raffy Tulfo joined the growing number of senators pushing for an outright ban on online gambling. Tulfo stressed that the issue has become widespread, citing reports of students stealing money from their parents to gamble, particularly on apps like Scatter. He also urged President Bongbong Marcos to raise the issue in his upcoming State of the Nation address.
Total stop, hindi yung regulated, hindi yung strictly regulated. For me, no. It has to stop. Grabe na. Kailan tayo titigil kung bagsak na ang ating bansa? Of course, meron nung nag-prepare ng kanyang speech, meron mga nag-advise sa kanya. Beke naman, Mr. President, hindi ko dinidiktahan, hindi ko sinasabihan ang ating Pangulo because desisyon niya yan. Ayokong pakialaman yung lahat ng mga ginagawa niya. In fact, karamihan sa kanyang mga ginagawa ay support. Dahil nakita ko na kapareho na advocacy ako, I support him. But dito, ako'y nag-wish lamang na sana makarating sa Pangulo kung gaano kalala na itong problema sa online gaming.
Tulfo also called PAGCOR, the Advertising Board of the Philippines, and the DICT to halt all gambling-related ads. He appealed to celebrities endorsing online gambling platforms to reflect on the potential consequences of their influence.
Hindi ko sila pwedeng diktahan. Ang masasabi ko lamang, siguro mag-isip sila kung ano ba yung effect ng kanilang endorsement doon sa nakakaraming mga taong nalululong sa sugal dahil naniniwala sa kanila. Especially influencer, mabilis na maka-impluensya sa kanilang mga followers.
The Transportation Department says the Land Transportation Office has completed production of over 5 million vehicle plates. This clears the agency's backlog on plates dating back to 2014. While plate making continues at the LTO's Quezon City facility, officials say the challenge now is distributing finished plates to provinces. Meanwhile, 4 suspects were arrested in Bulacan for making fake plates. Authorities also seized printing equipment and counterfeit materials.
Hindi namin kayo titigilan. No? Una pa lang to sa mga marami pa naming huhulihin at ipapasara at kakasuhan. No? At ipapakulong.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
The Philippine National AIDS Council is set to roll out free condom distribution across Metro Manila. PNAC Executive Director Joselito Feliciano said condoms will soon be available in bars, bathhouses, spas, motels, and other identified red light areas. Additional distribution points include workplace, restrooms, gas stations, tricycle terminals, and health centers. Feliciano noted that while the Department of Health will initially supply the condoms, they are encouraging local governments and private groups to share the responsibility. This comes amid alarming data from the DOH, which reported a 500% rise in HIV cases among those aged 15 to 25 from 2010 to 2023. In the first quarter of this year alone, 5,101 HIV cases were recorded, up to 50% from the same period last year.
Mabilis lang na-concern ako doon. Why will you give out condoms sa spas and bathhouses when you go to a spa or bathhouse para pag magpamasahe lang, di ba? So is this tantamount to saying tinatanggap ng DOH na may prostitution na nangyayari sa mga spas and bathhouses? Why will you give condoms sa spas?
Hindi naman siguro prostitution right away.
Why will you give condoms sa spas? Ano yung logic behind that? Kung ang punta mo sa spa para magpamasahe kayo, kailangan ba magpadala ng condom sa spa? Hindi. Anyway, in other news, President Bongbong Marcos has approved the proposed 6.793 trillion national budget for fiscal year 2026. According to Malacanang, the budget highlights the administration's focus on improving education and uplifting the lives of all Filipinos. Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro said the President emphasized that the spending plan should fuel economic growth while ensuring a better quality of life under the vision of a bagong Pilipinas.
Now, experts from UP's Project NOAA are urging the public to use their hazard maps to prepare for potential storms, floods, and landslides this rainy season. Para bigyan ng mukha ang balita, Mobile Journal, Jazz Paredes.
Rainy season na naman at ang kaakibat niyan sa ilang lugar, baha. Bahain ba sa lugar mo? Pumunta lang sa website na ito, noaa.up.edu.ph. Ilagay ang location at dito makikita kung gaano kapeligroso ang lugar na ito sa baha, landslide o storm surge. Dilaw kung low, orange kung medium at pula kung high. At base sa paunang nakakalap na datos ng UP Resilience Institute, ang Nationwide Operational Assessment of Hazards o UP NOAA, mula sa mismong website nila, ito ang nakakabahala.
Nakikita natin na mas lumalawak yung areas na potentially affected by flooding. So, the aspiration for the UP NOAA website is to visualize these kinds of flood scenarios na otherwise you won't be able to appreciate or see sa mga available na hazard maps na given to us.
Ang data ng website ay mula pa sa flagship program noong 2012 na Project NOAA. Ginawa pa nilang high resolution ng flood maps sa tulong ng datos mula sa satellite, historical, mismong mga residente, crowdsourcing mula sa social media platforms at on-site noong 2024. At ngayon, pwede na rin tong i-download sa App Store.
Having the maps there and having them prepared allows us to make decisions na hindi kailangang at the drop of a hat kapag nandyan na, tsaka pa lang tayo gagawa ng decision. Dami-daming bagyo dumadaan sa Pilipinas, abot ng 20 sa isang taon. So, parang by this time, hindi pwede caught off guard pa rin tayo every single time.
Sa ngayon, patuloy pa rin ang pag-improve at pagdagdag ng features sa NOAA. Ngayong may mga instrumento ng tutulong sa atin para maging handa. Gamitin sana natin para maging ligtas kapag may sakuna. Mobile Journal, Jas Paredes po, hatid ang muka ng balita.
In sports, the Akari Chargers closed their PVL On Tour Pool B campaign with a strong straight sets win over the Capital One Solar Spikers. Akari overcame a 9-point deficit in the third set with a massive 10-1 run to complete the sweep. Ezra Madrigal led the charge with 11 points and was named player of the game. Both teams advanced to the knockout stage with Akari finishing at 2-3 and Capital One winless at 0-5. Key players were still missing on both sides due to national team duties and injuries. Ayun. And before we let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. Nawala ang quote dito. Diba na?
Anong quote mo?
Ikaw may quote ka ba? Ikaw ang
Always
bigay.
choose kindness.
Yan. Galing po sa asawa ko yun. Always choose kindness and be kind to the pets. Napat mo na eh. O yan. Alright. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.